Damn, rolling. We got the what is it? November? Start of
November.
November.
Yeah.
God dang. Ball's flying by, Steve. All the things are happening. You're coaching now,
It's going
right?
fast. Yeah, that's right. Basketball season's in full swing.
Everything
Yeah.
going on. We got the November update. So we just hit a year. We got
Yep.
1 month in the new space. Floors looking good. Equipment and layout, we're like 90% there. We just gotta get that wall
Yep. Get the wall done.
done.
Yeah.
Then we can figure out what we want to paint or what color the yellow wall wants to be. 9
Eventually.
amps.
That's
They're
right.
still chirping at me. They all wanna jump in and paint it a different color.
Yep.
But here we are, 1 year.
Yeah, that's exciting. 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Mental, physical health. Rolling out 3 pillars too. Let's start there. Because going way back with Team Early and Fit days, like starting out, there was the pillars, and it's always resonated with me too. So let's dive into your thought process behind the pillars.
We have these Wednesday mornings where, right, 5 and 6 a.m. back to back teaching, go home, and then 9 and noon. So there's this big window in the middle of the day, and it was like, how can that be used to benefit people? How can that be used to maximize our space? Those kind of things. And I think what came to mind was maybe there's an opportunity there to help people in a way we haven't been able to do it. Right? It's only 1 month in our new space, but we've been so limited for the better part of that year, our first year. So thinking of where are the opportunities to help families more, help athletes more, help some youth, those kind of things as the second year arrives. And so just thinking of what are the close passions to my heart and what helps people do it, experience life in a fuller way. We're in this kind of physical fitness world, but I work all day long in the mental part of the world, and many times those bridge. It's been great to work with athletes through the past 20 years, and as we just talked about, like coaching and still being on a basketball court somewhere and trying to do that and appreciate what everybody likes to do and be dedicated to their craft, let's say.
Yeah.
So whether that's youth athletes, work a lot with high school athletes, college in the past, but even just adult athletes, right? I mean, people who still want to do the sport they loved playing, and they want to stay on top of it, and they want to do well. So one of the new services we get to offer, we just calling it interesting how it was already on your mind and it was on mine, about 3 pillars performance. So just thinking of the pillars of health and this idea of heart, soul, and mind. So heart meaning, like, what's your passion? Like, what are people passionate about? So sports obviously triggers a lot of passions for people, of the sport they love, the team they love, the outdoor, the arena they like to play in, those kind of things. But then we get to the physical and mental part. So this kind of, do we help people take care of their physical health? Yes. Making them strong, helping them recover. And I think that's one of the outcomes that I want to be able to see, that recovery, that many times life has offered a setback to somebody and they can't pursue their passion very well because physically their body's compromised, or mentally they're discouraged about something.
Yeah.
So I think this service is designed to step into that position when people feel like, I'm not performing where I want, not because we're trying to reach Olympic status of everything, but simply I'm not where I was before, and I want to get back there. So physically being able to just use our space and have that be an option, to have your expertise help with that from a physical standpoint. But the mental standpoint, dealing with discouragement, disappointment, an injury, a setback, a season wasn't successful. People can't perform physically when they're mentally not engaged. That's one of the things we've been really just focused on throughout the year. But thinking about athletes, youth, college, adult, I think that really shows up a lot. That they can't enjoy what they want to do because they're so far in their head about an injury or something. So yeah, trying to use the space physically to be able to have an option for them, mentally to be able to talk with them about what they're doing in order to regain that passion. So kind of recovery and restore is the lifeblood that I think runs through that 3 pillar service idea. The part that's interesting is knowing many times in the counseling office, historically or stereotypically, people are sitting and just talking back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But to think that we can use this space for some of these 45-minute meetings to be able to say, bring your gear with you.
Yep.
You know, let's use our open space. Let's
Yep.
use some equipment. There's plenty of room in here to throw a baseball, throw a football, go through some movements on whatever sports, or running with a treadmill. We'll figure out a basketball hoop to get in here somehow,
Yep.
because it's part of my passion. But to be able to talk while someone is actually doing the sport that they love, or the movements, the basics of it,
Yep.
and talk through those sequential moments, is something I'm excited to do. It's a way to, in counseling in life, you try and go back to those specific moments where something bad happened and understand it and reframe it and build from it. Well, let's do the same thing when it comes to athletic performance.
Yeah.
And understand, where did the body not work? Let's address it.
Yep.
Where did the brain kind of not work? Let's address it, so that, again, your heart is stronger because you believe in yourself more. You can start to see yourself recover and your passion returns. So I'd say that's the nutshell
Yep.
about this new service of 3 Pillars Performance, and just trying to make sure people are, completely holistically strong, not just selling out for one part of,
Yep.
physical performance, but they're just kind of hollow internally about their passion.
Yep.
Maybe want to walk away, or frustrated, and mentally they just can't balance those two things.
Yeah.
So the goal is to kind of have all three be strong, and we'll see how it develops. It's a
Yeah.
brand new idea, but we have the recipe here with the space and your expertise and mine, and just to see how that goes forward is going to be exciting.
I like that a lot. It's because we've, especially in healthcare, sports medicine, we think we can separate everything. We think we're isolating it, but really we know that's not true, right? Like you're talking about body, mind, soul, like it's all connected, it's all attached. It's a big circle. They're feeding each other. So the fact that you want to bring this idea and implement it and get this idea and this topic out there, I'm excited to see where we can bring it. So I think that ties well into what we're covering this month as we head into the holiday season. So it's a year of what we've been doing with AWS, the mind body training program. What do we have? What are we covering this month for everybody?
Yeah, we're dealing with loss. Just November and December historically are a conversation in the counseling office about the pressures of the holidays, or the changes or differences of the holidays. It doesn't mean everybody is like a pessimistic view that everybody dislikes what's coming. But in the counseling office, there's a skewed view sometimes, because proportionally, people are coming in who struggle with some aspect of the dates that are coming very quickly here in November and December. There's lots of good, but helping people figure out ways to celebrate the good that comes with the end of a year, to be able to look at what they've accomplished, or spend family time, or maybe see people they haven't seen in a while, because of the way our culture kind of grinds down for a halt around Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, but how to redeem those and have it go well is really the motivator about why we're talking about loss this month in particular. So this week, just today on Wednesday, we're talking about grief, the loss of a person. How do you deal with that? Because when you get to those major holidays of Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they're not there for the first time, or they haven't been there for years, yet it still feels like a big void, it's important to talk about. Next week, I can't remember if it's the idea of disappointments, like my dreams didn't reach out the way I wanted. How does that work? The week after that, we'll talk about regret, like the sense of time. I didn't use my time well, or something came and went, and I feel like I fell short. And then finishing the month on our last Wednesday, we'll be talking about this process of aging, kind of like my abilities have lessened, and how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
Because many people will have a sense of confidence about what they can do and what they have done. And when there's aging or an injury or something, and I have to then recalibrate my expectations, that's a loss. So the whole month is kind of under this umbrella of that word, but knowing that there are some pretty unique or profound losses that people have to encounter that we should talk about.
I love that we're diving into this. the topic of loss and grief. For me, 2022, I lost close friend, 2 relatives. They were all under 35. Like
Wow.
2 of them were under 30. They were just 28, 27, and just crazy life circumstances, diseases that were completely out of their control. It wasn't like decisions or accidents. It was just horrible, horrific diseases. And then I lost an uncle. And for me, I was thinking about how one of my friends in particular, how we had made plans to hang out. They had just gotten a dog. They were all excited. It was their first dog. And then COVID happened. So this was back in early 2020. And then, you know, all of the craziness of life, COVID times and all of that. And then early 2022, they die of a freak, their heart failure at 27 years old.
Wow.
Just at home with their dog.
Yeah.
And we had just kind of gotten back in touch and made plans. And then that happened. And I think about like the regret of, you know, like we let on both sides, right? We kind of just let it go. Yeah. And this is somebody that I've spent big chunk of his life, big chunk of my life together, knowing each other, basically like a little brother growing up. And then to have that taken away, like it's still hard to think about. I've got little pictures of him and us all over the house and little just like keepsakes. And it's still been hard, right? Yeah. You know, talking to his mom, giving her a phone call or stopping at the house. And but yeah, it's weird how it's tied together, the regret of the person and also like the regret of not having acted enough or letting the busyness of life kind of just steer you away from things that you value. But no, so it's good to cover that this month. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have that experience of something happened this year that maybe nobody knows about, or it has been public but then forgotten about. And that's, I mean, to some degree, we could spend a whole month on this topic alone of this week. Yeah. And you know, as always, it's trying to strike a balance between how do you cover the right information at a reasonable depth and empower people with what to do. And if it goes worse and it's deeper or bigger or nastier, then we talk about support networks, or we talk about take advantage of that counseling benefit as part of the membership, all of those things. So to have one writing about grief and 15 minutes to talk about it today is I think a significant effort to try and make, but it's the reality that people will spend much more time on their own dealing with that grief than what we've tried to accomplish. So if anyone's listening to this, it's like, you have to keep talking, you have to keep working at it, you have to keep reading, or not let it. That's one of the messages from today, is that grief is relentless and it has to be acknowledged. If people try and ignore grief, then it starts to affect them physically, it starts to confound things mentally, and then they're acting out of character, or they can't function the way they want. So it's like, pay attention to these signs, and if they're happening, clearly you have to recruit more support and more help into that process, because it is very subjective how people go through grief, what they do. Like you mentioned, mementos and pictures and those kind of things. That's your version of it. Other people are like, I'm putting all that stuff behind a door and I'm shutting the door, and it's going to stay there. And it doesn't necessarily mean one's right or wrong, but can that person who puts it all behind a door, can they walk through it at some point? Can they open it up and allow themselves to experience that grief? That's what I would say. Because if they try and wall it off and not think about it again, it's just a matter of time before they encounter a problem about it. So
it's a tough one. I forget where I read it or heard it, saw it recently. It was right around the time I was like, unbeknownst to me, had 2 more funerals coming that year. Or I'd already had the first 2 early on in that year, but grief was explained as like unexpressed love. So if you're like, if it's really impactful and hurtful and, like you said, overwhelming, and I forget your exact word for what it is in the counseling clinic during your,
called it an adversary.
Yes, that was it. Which is very realistic, because I love too that you told everyone, like, there's no deadline, there's no timeline for this, right? Especially in our culture, our system, everyone's a project manager. We want efficiency. We want this wrapped up, right? Like we were talking about the space earlier, just a little bit ago. We were talking about what are realistic timelines for ourselves for the business, but like when we're talking something like grief, like that's not actually very helpful.
Yeah.
To be like, you will get over this such and such a time, or if
Right.
we're talking to someone we love, being like, oh my God, you're not over this yet. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's not helpful.
Not at all. It is. That's one of the things we wrote about on Monday on that blog. Is just people want to know, and I respect that idea of like, when am I going to get through this? When is this going to be easier and better? And it's really, the answer is, well, you're getting a little bit stronger every day. You just don't see it and realize it.
Yep.
But trying to write that there isn't a timeline, really trying to get to the 1-year anniversary is really the main measurement, because I think things are calculated in years. That I got through the first year, and here's what I learned. I got through the second year, here's what I learned, and people accumulate the knowledge that way. But just recognizing that, yes, they can't reach a point where they can measure, where's my grief at?
Yep.
Even trying to share today, like, I don't think grief gets less over time, like less strong, less powerful, less impactful. People are just stronger in their ability to contain it and keep it in its place. So I think that just gives permission for people to feel those longings for that person who's gone, to be able to be emotional about it even years later, because if it is, that definition is interesting to hear, unexpressed love, then why is it bad to still love somebody years later if they're not here? They had such a significant impact on your life. You should acknowledge them and appreciate it. But dealing with the pressures people feel to move on, or to be so critical about themselves, or worry what people think if there's still a tradition someone's keeping.
Yep.
One of the links we put on the newsletter was, I think it was 30 ways to deal with grief at Thanksgiving. Just ideas. So take away the word Thanksgiving and just have it be any kind of holiday, and
any day.
It could be any day, but certainly with holidays when everyone's gathering, and how do you not have your grief be intrusive to other people, but how do you stand firm and say, I need this. I want that empty place setting, or I want to have a moment of silence, or I want to be able to share stories and talk. That's one of the tensions of these get-togethers at holidays, is people's grief is different. Someone wants to just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about what's going on and the person they missed. Somebody else is like, I haven't spoken their name. I haven't done it. That's one of the reasons why when there's a death or tragedy in November and December, it gets so complicated, because you're forced to come together in our culture for these holidays, but then you have to bring yourself, and you have to bring and your close proximity to somebody else that might be grieving differently, and how do you balance out that tension? So this is why we want people talking and leaning on their support network, and not ignoring things, because then someone says something stupid at Thanksgiving table and you haven't dealt with your grief, and you're likely a chance to explode or say something, and nobody wants that.
No.
To feel foolish or embarrassed or out of control.
Yeah. Some good stuff right there. And then I think that covered a little bit of regret in there too. The age one, I'm excited to dive into that, because we've been over this. I work with 20-year-olds and I work with 80-year-olds. Everybody in between. So I've been fortunate, blessed, cursed, I don't know how you want to look at it, with seeing the whole spectrum of human performance, movement. I always come back to gratitude. There's like things most 20-year-olds aren't even aware they should be grateful for until we've advanced a few decades in life. And right, like the 80-year-olds, like someone I work with, they can't see anymore. They've had from different injuries or diseases, like their sense of sight taken from them. And I think about that every single day, because of all of the things I enjoy doing in here, outside with my family. Like, so much of it's based on vision, right? Memories, learning, experiences, and how hard that would be. Or orthopedic surgery, or like I think of my dad with his neck fusion, where he has an accident, he gets the surgery, and then all of the professionals that did the surgery are telling him, should have never had that surgery. But now we're going to try to repair it, but it's, pain, loss of function. When he and I are out in the woods, like, he would want nothing more than to be able to look up in the sky, and he can't, because his neck doesn't move that way anymore, right? So he's stuck looking down. just little things like that, right?
Yeah.
Just taken
Yeah.
away from us as we age. Like we
Yeah.
have this privilege of aging that
Mhm.
not everybody gets to have,
Right.
but along with that comes bumps, bruises, aches, pains, loss of function. So yeah, what are your, as you've, you love sports, you love basketball, you're getting older, you're coaching.
Mhm.
Where's your head at with all that kind of stuff?
Well, it's a unique experience to have to, be. I think that topic will occur on my birthday. I think at the end
Mm,
of the month, so it'll
no.
be interesting to be talking that day as I hit a birthday and turn 49.
Is it on a Wednesday?
It's on a Wednesday. That's right. That's right. So
Getting the birthday banner
yeah,
out.
that's right. It'll be interesting to talk about it that day. And I think you're right. Physical is part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Many times in counseling, it's also recognizing the relational part of it. As
Mm,
people age, they become more isolated. The families kind of get up and spread out a little bit. Particularly as you go older you are, the less adults, less friendships have lingered or stayed. People who are in their 90s or hundreds are generally pretty isolated themselves
yep.
because their friends haven't lived that long because of genes or lifestyle or something. So relationships are a key part of aging. Like, how do you maintain those, or how do you adapt, or um, that kind of aspect. Emotionally, trying to deal with aging, of what kind of grace do I give myself to say, I can't perform at that level anymore, physically, mentally, cognitively, but can I maintain where I'm at?
Yep.
Can I still feel like there is a reasonable, assessment of my performance? So yeah, physical, relational, emotional,
Mm,
those kind of things. And then I think maybe we'll touch a little bit about just the mental aspect of the fear of aging
yep.
and what comes. And chronic pain is a factor, or people as they worry, like I watch my parents. I mean, there's lots of this kind of gap and a lot of caregiver fatigue of people as they, adults are living a lot longer now thanks to incredible health care
Yep.
and the sacrifices their kids make to have them move in home
Mm-hmm.
or anything else. So it just means that sometimes people can be ill or feeling frail or just dealing with stuff for 20 years.
Yep.
It's not as um, kind of, I'd say, short in terms of a difficult time period.
Mm-hmm.
People have 2 or 3 battles with cancer sometimes.
Yep.
As amazing as that sounds, when other people can't win the first one.
Yep.
But so this diverse experience when it comes to aging.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, yes. How do I deal with 30 years of I put my body through it and I didn't think about it,
Yep.
didn't pay attention to it, and now I'm dealing with chronic pain. That's certainly a part of aging. But I think the relational part is just as big because
Mm-hmm.
people have retired, their families moved away, their friendships, they didn't really have to worry about them. And now, because they're out of a routine and they're away from things, now they are even more isolated and alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll try and talk about some of those, which seems really straightforward to say, but just risks of aging, things to be aware of, but it's not just physical.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that'll be a good thing to talk about.
Oh, I'm excited. It's gonna be a good month. So we're just, that was the recap of what we're covering in November.
Mm-hmm.
We've got community Wednesdays, so that's the day
Mm-hmm.
Steve gives these discussions. We're inviting anyone that's listening, watching, to reach out to us, message us,
Mm-hmm.
reserve your spot. We're only opening up 2 spots per workout because I still want quality of
Yeah.
connection and workouts and coaching and all that good stuff. But yeah, we're opening up these mental health days. So what Steve and I have been talking about, his discussions he leads every Wednesday, we're inviting anyone interested to come try one out,
Mm-hmm.
learn, discuss, have a
Yeah.
great workout, and then see what we're all about.
Yeah. Kind of check out the centerpiece, like the
Yes,
unique part of where they both
yes,
come together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are they're an important day. They're deep, they're broad,
Mm-hmm.
and they're everything. And I really look forward to Wednesdays every week. So
Yeah.
we're inviting everyone to all of those in this month for November,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll see more stuff about 3 Pillars Performance,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also have punch cards we're issuing out to former people I've coached, former people we've worked with, and then also I'm excited about those because some people, maybe you have a gym you enjoy working out at, you have a movement practice, maybe it's yoga, it's Pilates, it's all these
Mm-hmm.
things. I personally train a number of people who go see other movement professionals in the area. But maybe you really want to come to those Wednesdays,
Mhm.
but you don't want to commit to the full
Mhm.
membership. That's where that punch card comes in. You
Yep.
can still, you can come, discuss, listen.
Mhm.
Counselor Steve, you can get a barbell workout in, do
Mhm.
some strength training, and it fits within someone's existing
Yeah.
kind of movement practice. So I'm excited to have that offered up as well for people
That's a great
going
thing
forward.
just for those that are on the fence.
Yep.
It's a reality of the commitment it takes to do a gym membership.
Mhm.
So to be able to do that and spread that out,
Yep.
right? Getting those 10 visits on a punch card to
Yep.
be able to use as you can through November, December, and beyond. It's going to be a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Steve, before we finish, your birthday's coming up. It's Thanksgiving week or Thanksgiving month.
Mhm.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite birthday treat, Thanksgiving treat, dessert? What are we talking about here? We got to end on food.
Yeah,
I
I've got
love
to end
food.
on food. That's a good talk. My family knows that the only cake that I ever want is yellow cake with chocolate frosting and plenty of chocolate
A
frosting.
classic.
And don't put any sprinkles on it
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
It's got to be nice and smooth, and give me a good, nice ice cold glass of milk.
Oh,
And yeah,
I'm on board.
leave me
I'm
alone for a
in.
while.
I'm in for
I'll
the
enjoy
yeah,
a
yeah,
nice,
yeah.
nice, probably too big of a piece.
Yeah.
So that's always the dessert. As far as there's not really a meal. I just love hanging out with my family that day.
Yep.
And if a cake hasn't done, then you throw an eclair my way.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good backup.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
maybe out to dinner with an eclair and go home and have some cake.
Yep. Have some
Is
cake.
probably an
Bookends.
even better
I love
way
it.
to
Love it.
do
Heck yeah.
the birthday at the end of the month.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What about you?
I have a cousin who's a home ec teacher.
Mhm.
She home ec teaches like a bunch of high schools. Anything she makes,
Mm.
whatever if it's pie,
Yeah.
she'll make these like double, triple decker like cakes of all different
Wow.
kinds. Anything, doesn't matter. Surprise me. It's all good. I've never had anything bad from her. So when we do family get-togethers and she's coming, there's going to be like 3 or 4 cakes, or like I think her record is like 12 different pies for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Back when we had like the full big,
Sure.
like you said, my family is currently in a dispersal mode.
Are they?
My
Okay.
grandma passed away, COVID happened, and then like we're still figuring out what new family
Sure.
gatherings looks like without
Sure.
the matriarch.
Yeah.
But we're figuring it out.
Yeah, we'll find out. I got my parents coming in town, my brother and his family, so I'm sure we'll have a few pies. I'm a
Yep.
pumpkin pie guy, so
Yep.
I got to have that. But I
Yep.
think a derby pie gets
Ooh,
made.
yeah.
Whatever. The problem is we don't share very well in our house, so Stephanie has to make all these individual dishes
Uh-huh.
that everybody wants, because it's not Thanksgiving if you don't have green bean casserole.
Yep.
I mean, that's just
Yep.
it's a must.
It is a must.
I would be disappointed and sad in the
Uh-huh.
corner because there's no green bean casserole.
You gotta have
somewhere.
green bean casserole.
So we have all these dishes that everybody loves and no one really crosses over. So might as well just put the dish in front of us.
Yep, that's actually
That
just
way.
theirs. I like it.
So it'll be
Well,
good.
Cool. We're inviting everybody once again to experience the Wednesday workout. And other than that, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, 1 year.
1 year
today.
Fist bump.
Incredible.
Let's
There
close
we
it
go.
out.
Wonderful.
Boom. Awesome.